You just got arrested, you bailed out, and now you're looking at your calendar and you have a trip coming up. Maybe it's India, maybe it's Europe, maybe it's Mexico. And you're wondering, can I still go on my vacation or my trip? This is one of the most common questions I get, and the answer is, it depends. It depends on whether you're a US citizen. It depends on whether you have court paperwork which says you can't leave the country or the state. And it depends on what, if any, document you signed with your bail company when you were released. I'm Vijay Law, and I'm a criminal defense attorney in San Jose, California. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what you need to know step by step so you don't make any mistake in regards to leaving the country after you were arrested. Before you book any travel, before you even think about leaving the States, you need to read two documents. Number one, the release paperwork you received when you bailed out of custody. And number two, the agreement you signed with the bail company that says the conditions of your bail release. Those two documents control everything I'm going to talk to you about in regards to whether you can leave the state or country. If either of them says you cannot leave the state or country, you cannot leave, full stop. Violating those conditions is a separate offense, and it will make your original case dramatically harder to resolve. Now, with that foundation set, let me break this down by citizenship status, because the rules are very different depending on where you stand. If you are a United States citizen, here is the framework. After you are arrested and bail out in California, you will receive a future court date, which is your arraignment date. But depending on the county, that could be anywhere from a few days to a couple months in advance. At that point, you need to ask yourself three questions. Number one, what does your release paperwork say? When you bailed out, the court may have issued conditions of release. You need to read that document carefully. If it says you cannot leave the county, state, or country, you cannot. If it does not restrict travel, you're not restricted by that document, but you still need to check the next step. The second question is, what does your bail agreement say? When you used a bail bondsman, you signed a contract. Pull that contract out and read it. Some bail agreements simply say you must appear at all court dates, which means you are technically free to travel as long as you are back in time. Others specifically prohibit leaving the state or country. Your agreement is your agreement. If it restricts travel, you are bound by it. The third question is, what did the judge say, if anything, at the arraignment with regard to travel? After your first court appearance, the judge may impose additional conditions of release. If the judge orders you not to leave the county, state, or country, that is your court order, and you must follow it, period. If you need to travel for a genuine reason, a family emergency, a work obligation, your attorney needs to file a motion asking the judge to specifically modify that order, if that is something that's going to happen. You can't just leave and hope nobody notices. So what the bottom line is for US citizens is that if you have no court order travel restrictions and your bail agreement doesn't prohibit it, you can travel. But you need to put in some buffer time between your court date. For instance, if your court date is February 10th, you shouldn't be booking a flight February 9th, because if you don't come back, it's not going to be an excuse that your flight was canceled. Missing the court date because your flight was canceled is simply not going to be an excuse in California. You're going to be charged with an additional crime called failure to appear. Now, if you're not a US citizen, if you're a H-1B holder, if you're a green card holder, if you have a work visa, if you have a student visa, if you have any other immigration status besides US citizen, you need to listen to this section carefully. Everything I just said about citizens applies to you, all of it. Court orders, bail agreements, arraignment conditions, and you need to follow all of that. In addition, if you're not a US citizen, I'm going to give you the advice I give to every non-citizen I represent if you're charged with a criminal offense and you've just been arrested. Do not leave the United States until your criminal case is over. I'll repeat that again. Do not leave after you've been arrested and the case is pending the United States until your criminal case is completely over. I know that sounds extreme, that may seem harsh. Let's say you have a wedding, let's say there's a funeral, but that is the advice, and that's the advice any responsible attorney would give you. When you leave the United States with a pending criminal case, you're taking a risk, and that's a risk that most people underestimate. If for any reason, and this does happen, the United States immigration authorities decide to flag you, whether it's because of that criminal arrest or for any other reason, when you try to re-enter the United States, you may not be allowed to get back in. And if you can't re-enter the United States, you cannot appear at your court date. And if you cannot appear at your court date, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. And if a warrant is issued for your arrest, that will be another additional reason that immigration will prevent you from coming back, your warrant and your criminal case. I have seen this exact situation happen, and it is a very difficult situation to recover from because you're basically in a circle where a warrant has issued, which is a singular basis to deny you getting a visa, but you need to get a visa to come back to the United States to clear your warrant. So you're essentially in a circle, and that circle can be prevented by simply not leaving the country. The safest approach is to stay in the United States, work with your attorney to resolve the case as efficiently as possible. Now, when your case is over, there are things you need to do before you travel internationally. Most attorneys won't tell their client exactly this, but you need to get a certified court document showing that your case is over. For instance, let's say you were charged with criminal domestic violence. Your case went to court. Eventually, it was dismissed. After that court date showing it was dismissed, you can get a court order that's certified by the court clerk. That's the official document showing that the case is over. And once you have that, you should travel with that document as well as a letter from your attorney with letterhead showing and explaining to immigration authorities what ultimately happened with your criminal case. And that will expedite any travel back into the United States, showing immigration authorities what actually happened in your case. They will already know by virtue of looking at their FBI files that you were arrested, that there was a criminal case, and that there was a dismissal. However, those records are derivative of the original records from the court that actually hosted your criminal case. And so they want to make sure that those records that they have internally in the FBI records match. So you want to have the official, original, certified court record with an attorney letter explaining all of that after your case is over, so you have no problems re-entering the country. And I tell every non-citizen that they need these documents when they want to travel after the case is over. So let me bring all this back together. If you're a U.S. citizen, read your travel release paperwork, your bail agreement, and any subsequent court orders in regards to whether you can travel. If you're allowed to travel, make sure there's a sufficient buffer time between your travel date and your court date. If you're not a U.S. citizen, you should not travel outside the United States, period, until your case is over. Once your case is over, get the final court order related to that and a letter from your attorney. If you have any other questions about international travel while your case is pending or once it's over, give me a call or visit me at my website at vijaylaw.com.